Tech issues have hit two of Canada's biggest companies yesterday with what it means to all of us. Here is money expert Rubina Ahmed-Haq. All right, Rubina, let's begin with Air Canada. We were talking about this off the top of the show. Air Canada's had to cancel and delay flights due to technical issues. Where is that at now, and how costly is this for the airline?
Yeah, before we get into Air Canada, I just wanted to give full disclosure that I have an ongoing contract with Air Canada where I consult on their financial wellness program. So just to get that out there before we talk about the airline. But this is costly. Of course, the majority of Air Rouge and Air Canada flights were delayed. And so that means customers who are then going to be demanding compensation for those delays. The onus is now on airlines. This is the new revamped passenger bill of rights to prove that the delay was not their fault. Now, they used a third-party technology company to upgrade their system, which communicates with the aircrafts, and this is what failed, and that's why passengers could not get on those flights. And so it could be found that it was the airline's fault, that they're the ones that hired this company, and they're the ones that are now delaying their passengers getting on. And so that does cost the company money. I mean, it's frustration for customers, but Air Canada's our biggest airline here in Canada. It serves most communities. A lot of people rely on getting to their destination on time, and so that can be real frustration for customers, which can translate to people not wanting to fly that airline.
Well, you mentioned compensation, Rubina. If you are an Air Canada customer impacted by this, what recourse do you have, and can you expect compensation, and what does that compensation look like? Is it just the price of the ticket? Could it be more?
Yeah, it really depends on the hours that you are delayed. So recently, the passenger bill of rights was revamped, and it really does put the onus on the airline to prove that what happened was not their fault. So for example, if there was an ice storm or there was a heat wave and the planes couldn't get off the ground, that is not their fault. So that delay would not be considered a disruption that they could have controlled. Before, it used to be that passengers would have to make their case of, the disruption. They were in the airport for hours waiting to get on that plane, and now they want compensation. So the compensation now will come quicker. It depends on how long your flight is, how long the delay was, but it can translate to hundreds of dollars that you can get back for being delayed on any airline that leaves Canada.
Okay. All right. RBC also experiencing a tech issue with their online and mobile banking app yesterday. It has since been resolved, but do we know how this impacted customers, and do we have any clarity as to what happened?
Yeah, so again, going down to tech issues. So the mobile app wasn't working, so you couldn't check your banking, you couldn't make transfers, you couldn't pay bills. RBC is Canada's biggest bank, and so this is obviously something that impacts a lot of customers. It's frustrating because banks continue to charge high fees for accounts. For example, I have one account that charges $29 a month, and so that would be really frustrating if you can't access that account, considering you're paying that much money to make sure that the account is running. But this really is a hangover from the pandemic, where more and more people are using mobile banking, more and more people are using technology to get their everyday work done, and a lot of companies are not equipped with the technology to really handle that demand and that volume, and that's really what happened.
Yeah, and I think these two cases yesterday, just it's a bigger conversation, Rubina, as to whether or not, whether it's our banking or travel plans, have consumers and companies, have we become maybe a little too reliant on tech? I mean, it's certainly convenient, but does yesterday prove that there's also some costs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when the technology fails, then you are now relying on that tech company to then resolve it. We've all got those emails saying, even from work, like the email's down because there's a tech issue. And so then there's an actual human being then trying to figure out where in the program have things gone wrong so they can fix it so that anyone who uses that system can get on their way. There's definitely a case to be made that we shouldn't rely 100% on things like robots and computers and AI, that we really do need that human element in order to make sure that when things go wrong, that you have even the understanding of how to get people on planes and how to get banking done without the use of 100% technology.
Rubina, before we let you go, as you know, Pride Month is underway, and two U.S. retailers, Target and Bud Light, are being boycotted due to their support of the 2SL LGBTQ plus communities. And now there are reports that both companies' stocks have fallen.
Yeah, so Budweiser, for example, they've seen their sales drop 30%. So that really worries investors, and they start selling the stock. So that is not the stock falling is not really in reaction to individuals who don't believe in the brand. It's really that people are now boycotting this brand because they have a transgendered spokesperson, and the sales have fallen, and so investors are losing confidence in that company. This really does show that when companies put themselves out there, as they should when it comes to pride and other issues of social justice, that there are always going to be pushback from their customers, and so it's important to continue to do so. But this is one of the unfortunate byproducts that sometimes people take issue with and stop buying that product, and that then translates to shareholder prices going down.
And we all know the importance of allyship, for sure. All right,
Absolutely.
Rubina, got to leave it there here on this Friday. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.